June zoomed in on Sung's face. The blue-skinned diplomat wore an expression of supreme satisfaction. For centuries, the Alliance had tolerated humans while secretly fearing them. Humans were unpredictable, creative in ways that made logical species uncomfortable. Their chaotic thinking patterns and emotional decisions had always been seen as dangerous. Today marks a new era of peace and stability, Sung's voice came through on the channels June monitored. The disruptive human element has removed itself from our ordered galaxy. The gathered representatives cheered. None of them understood the truth. In his secure cabin, June reviewed the classified files only a handful of humans had been permitted to see. For millennia, long before humans achieved space travel, they had served as unwitting guardians. Their presence, their very thought patterns, had kept something ancient at bay. The files called it the Void, a darkness between stars, a hunger that consumed worlds, an entity that fed on predictability and order, held dormant by humanity's chaotic nature. June's real mission wasn't to observe the celebrations. It was to confirm that the Void would awaken as predicted. Humanity hadn't fled in defeat. They had strategically retreated to prepare. 3 days after the last human ship disappeared, June's sensors detected the first anomaly. A small star at the edge of charted space winked out. Not a supernova, it simply vanished along with its planets. The aliens noticed nothing. They were too busy dividing human territories and resources. By the 5th day, 3 more star systems had disappeared. A pattern was forming. The Void was awakening, just as the ancient records had predicted. On the 7th day, June's ship picked up a transmission from the Galactic Rim. A mining colony had gone silent. The investigation team sent by the Alliance reported seeing a darkness that moved before their transmission too was cut. In the Alliance Council chambers, the first signs of worry appeared. Ambassador Sung no longer smiled during briefings. There are unexplained phenomena occurring in several sectors, he admitted to the Council. We have dispatched science vessels to investigate. None of those vessels returned. June knew the schedule. He had 30 days to observe before his own departure through a smaller gateway. Humanity needed confirmation that their theories were correct. By day 15, panic had replaced celebration. Alliance military ships reported engaging an enemy they couldn't describe, a darkness that swallowed energy weapons and ships alike. The phenomena appear to be spreading at an increasing rate, the Alliance military commander reported. We recommend evacuation of border colonies. June's sensors tracked the growing darkness. It moved with purpose now, consuming ordered systems first. The logical, predictable societies that had most eagerly celebrated humanity's departure. On day 23, June activated the small beacon hidden on Moonbase Alpha. The signal was subtle, a slight fluctuation in background radiation that would be detected by human sensors on the other side of the gateway. The message was simple. Phase 1 confirmed. Void active. On day 28, Ambassador Sung made an emergency broadcast. To all Alliance worlds, we are facing an unprecedented threat, his voice shook. All available data indicates this entity avoids worlds where human presence was strongest. We are investigating why. June smiled grimly. They would find the old records eventually, the ancient texts referring to humans as the Guardians. They would discover that human unpredictability, creativity and chaos had kept the Void at bay for thousands of years. On the final day of his mission, June steered his ship toward the small gateway hidden near Saturn. Behind him, the Alliance worlds were beginning to understand their mistake. Several emergency transmissions had been sent toward the main gateway, attempting to call humans back, but the gateway remained silent and dark. As his ship approached the smaller portal, June sent his final report. Alliance in early panic, Void expanding as predicted. Phase 2 may commence. The ship slipped through the dimensional tear, leaving behind a galaxy that was just beginning to face its darkest hour, without its chaotic guardians. 5 years after the last humans disappeared, Admiral Du stood on the bridge of the Alliance. Flagship Guardian. The name was new, chosen after they discovered the ancient texts. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Another system gone, reported his first officer. That makes 17 this month. The tactical display showed the progress of the void, a spreading darkness that consumed everything in its path. What had begun as isolated incidents had become a galactic crisis. Nearly 15% of known space had vanished into the hungry darkness. Admiral Du had been a mid-level officer when humans left. Now he commanded the largest fleet ever assembled. Not that it mattered. Their weapons were useless against the void. "The Council is meeting again," his communications officer said. "They request your presence." The Admiral nodded grimly. These meetings had become routine, and routinely pointless. In the Grand Council chamber, Ambassador Sung no longer stood tall and proud. His blue skin had paled, and his once immaculate uniform hung loosely on his frame. The celebration of humanity's departure had aged into desperate regret. "Admiral, what news from the front?" Sung asked, though he already knew the answer. "We lost the Proxima system yesterday," Admiral Du reported. "Our weapons have no effect. The darkness simply absorbs energy. Physical objects that touch it disappear." The Council chamber erupted in fearful murmurs. Representatives from 30 species talked over each other. Some demanded more ships. Others insisted on evacuations. A few called for surrender, though no one knew how to surrender to darkness. "There must be something we haven't tried," Sung insisted. At the back of the chamber, a small figure stood. Dr. Min had been studying human artifacts since the Exodus. Once marked for her interest in primitive beings, she was now the Council's most valuable resource. "I found something," she announced. The room fell silent. "In the abandoned human research station on Titan." The display screen showed an ancient text, far older than human space travel. "This document predates human expansion into space by thousands of years," Dr. Min explained, "but it clearly identifies them as the Guardians who kept the great hunger at bay." "How?" Ambassador Sung demanded. "They were just one species, not particularly advanced compared to many Alliance members." "It wasn't their technology," Dr. Min said. "It was their nature. Look at this passage. The Guardians hold chaos in their minds. They dream the impossible. They believe contradictions. The hunger cannot predict them, cannot consume what it cannot understand." Admiral Du considered this. "You're saying the void feeds on predictability? On order?" "Exactly," Dr. Min nodded. "The void consumes what it can predict. Humans were inherently unpredictable. Their art, their music, their politics, all chaotic by our standards. They kept the void dormant simply by existing." "And we celebrated when they left," Sung whispered. On the edge of Alliance space, near where the void had first appeared, a small research vessel named Hope made a discovery. Captain Sue had been leading her team through abandoned human outposts, searching for anything that might help. In a small station orbiting a forgotten moon, they found a sealed room. The door hissed open when Captain Sue placed her hand on the panel, the system apparently programmed to respond to any intelligent life in emergency situations. Inside was a single holographic projector. When activated, the image of a human appeared, a woman with dark hair and serious eyes. "If you're seeing this message, then we were right," the hologram said. "The void has returned." The last human transport ship vanished through the shimmering gateway. Captain June stood alone on the observation deck of his small craft, recording the final moments of humanity's presence in this universe. "All vessels have crossed. The exodus is complete," he noted quietly. His small scout ship remained cloaked, invisible to the alien delegations already gathering like vultures around the abandoned human territories. Earth, once the bustling heart of human civilization, now stood silent below, its cities empty but intact. 5 kilometers away, the massive council ship of the Galactic Alliance hovered. Through his enhanced viewers, June could see Ambassador Sung addressing the gathered representatives on the observation deck. The aliens raised their appendages in celebration. Captain Sue stared in shock. "They knew. We've monitored the void for thousands of years," the hologram continued. "It feeds on order and predictability. Our chaotic nature kept it dormant. Our departure was not an ending, but a beginning. We left to evolve into what would be needed for the final confrontation." The human image gestured, and schematics appeared beside her. "These defense systems can slow the void's advance. They generate fields of quantum uncertainty, areas where multiple outcomes exist simultaneously. The void cannot consume what it cannot predict. Captain Sue immediately transmitted the discovery to Alliance headquarters. Within days, the first defense systems were activated around core worlds. The void's advance slowed, but didn't stop. In Siu, the council chamber, Dr. Min made her final recommendation. "We need to call them back," she said simply. Ambassador Sung, who had once celebrated humanity's departure, nodded in agreement. "How? The gateway is inactive." Dr. Min pointed to the final part of the human message. "If you need us, activate the beacon. We will return." Across the galaxy, teams raced to find the beacon. It was Captain Sue who discovered it, hidden on the very moon where they'd found the message. A small device, humming with strange energy. When activated, it sent a signal not through space but through dimensions. The response came just 3 days later. A simple message received on all Alliance channels. "Hold the line, we are coming." The abandoned human space station drifted silently around the moon of Tau Ceti 4. For 5 years, no one had approached the facility. Alien species avoided human outposts. Too many strange security systems, too many booby traps. Humans had always been paranoid. Today that would change. Captain Jin guided the exploration vessel Seeker toward the dormant station. His crew, 5 specialists from different species, watched nervously through the view screen. "Are we certain this is necessary?" asked Science Officer Bora, her pale green skin reflecting the dim light of the bridge. "Human technology is dangerous." Jin nodded grimly. "Council orders. The Void consumed 3 more systems yesterday. We need answers." This station was researching space anomalies. The Seeker docked with a gentle thud. The airlock cycled, and the team entered the abandoned facility in their environmental suits. Emergency lighting activated automatically as they moved through the corridors. "Power systems still functional," noted Engineer Day. "Impressive for a station abandoned 5 years ago." The team moved cautiously through the station. Dust covered everything, but otherwise the facility looked as if the humans had simply stepped out for a moment. "Check this out," called Technician Yun, pointing to a wall of monitors. They left in a hurry. The screens displayed star maps with dark patches growing across them. The images were dated just before the human exodus. "They knew," whispered Bora. They knew the Void was coming. In the central laboratory they found what they were looking for. A sealed door with a simple handprint scanner. "It won't accept alien biology," said Day, examining the panel. Jin considered their options. The emergency protocols. Try a general override. When Day pressed a specific sequence on the panel, a message appeared. "Non-human life form detected. Emergency access granted." The door slid open with a hiss. Inside was a single room containing a holographic projector and several strange devices. When the team approached, the projector activated automatically. A human female appeared, dressed in a simple uniform. "Greetings," the hologram said. "If you're viewing this message, then the Void has returned." The team froze, staring at the translucent figure. "My name is Dr. Min of Earth Science Vessel Prometheus. This message is set to activate when the Void reaches a critical expansion threshold." The hologram gestured, and a 3D model of the galaxy appeared with a dark spot spreading across one quadrant. "The Void is not a natural phenomenon," the hologram continued. "It is a conscious entity, one that has existed since the early universe. It feeds on order and predictability. For thousands of years, humanity has been its unwitting jailer." The model zoomed in to show Earth and several human colonies. Human minds exist in a state of chaos that the Void cannot process. Our creativity, our contradictions, our unpredictability, these qualities created blind spots that prevented the Void from expanding. As long as humans were scattered throughout the galaxy, the Void remained dormant. Jin stepped forward. "Then why did you leave? Why abandon us to this thing?" The hologram, programmed for basic interaction, responded, "We didn't abandon you, we evolved. Our departure was strategic. The Void grows more powerful with each cycle. To defeat it permanently, humanity needed to transform into something beyond our current form." Bora touched a strange device on a nearby table. "What are these?" "These are defense systems designed to slow the Void's advance," the hologram explained. They generate fields of quantum uncertainty, areas where multiple outcomes exist simultaneously. The void cannot consume what it cannot predict. The team exchanged glances. This matched what their scientists had theorized, but couldn't prove. The instructions for activating and distributing these devices are included in this database, continued the hologram. But they are only temporary measures. For permanent resolution, you must call us back. The hologram pointed to another device, a small crystalline structure pulsing with blue light. This is a beacon. It will signal to us across dimensions. We have been waiting for this call. Jin approached the beacon. How do we know you'll come back? How do we know you haven't just abandoned us? The hologram smiled, a strange, sad expression. Humanity has never abandoned the galaxy. We are its children. We merely stepped away to become what was needed. With trembling hands, Jin activated the beacon. The crystal glowed brighter, emitting a high-pitched tone that seemed to phase in and out of normal hearing. Signal sent, said the hologram. We will return. As the team gathered the defense devices, alarm klaxons suddenly blared throughout the station. Warning, announced an automated voice. Void anomaly detected in proximity. Station defensive measures activating. Through the viewports, they saw it. A patch of absolute darkness moving against the starfield, consuming light itself. We need to go now, said Jin, gathering the last device. As they raced back to their ship, the station's systems came fully online around them. Lights brightened, machinery hummed to life. The station is doing something, said Day, checking readings on his portable scanner. It's generating a field of some kind. From hidden emplacements around the station, energy projectors activated, creating a shimmering barrier between the station and the approaching darkness. Where the void touched the barrier, it recoiled as if in pain. Safely aboard the Seeker, the team watched as the human station, dormant for 5 years, fought the darkness with strange energies. Will it hold? Asked Bora. Long enough for us to escape with these devices, Jin replied, securing their precious cargo, and long enough for their message to be sent. As the Seeker pulled away, Jin looked back at the small blue crystal they had brought aboard, still pulsing, still sending its signal across dimensions. Hold the line, he whispered, echoing the hologram's words. They are coming. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Alliance had changed. Once a place of perfect order, with each species seated according to rank and influence, it now looked chaotic. Representatives argued loudly across tables, rearranged in no particular pattern. Music, human music, played constantly in the background. Ambassador. Tay stood at the center of this deliberate disorder, pointing to the latest reports from the front lines. Another success, he announced. The defense systems from the human station have created a barrier the void cannot cross in the Rigel sector. The gathered representatives cheered. 5 days had passed since Captain Jin's team had discovered the human message and activated the beacon. In that time, the Alliance had rapidly deployed the strange devices across key systems. The devices work exactly as the human holograms said they would, explained Commander Dury, the military officer, overseeing deployment. They create fields of uncertainty, areas where multiple possibilities exist at once. The void cannot process these regions. But they are temporary measures, cautioned Science Minister Bora. The energy cores will fail within months. We need the humans to return. At the mention of humans, the chamber grew quiet. For centuries, the Alliance had considered humans dangerous and unpredictable. Now they prayed for their return. Has there been any response to the beacon? Asked Tay. Bora shook her head. Nothing yet. In a small laboratory near the council chambers, Captain Jin worked with Engineer Day to analyze the beacon. The crystal continued to pulse with blue light, sending its strange signal across dimensions. The quantum fluctuations are increasing, noted Day, studying the readouts. Something is happening. Jin had not slept since their return from the human station. Dark circles ringed his eyes as he adjusted the monitoring equipment. We need to amplify the signal, he said. If we connect it to the main power grid, the crystal suddenly flared, bright enough to make them shield their eyes. When they looked again, a small tear in the air had formed above the device, a rippling distortion through which they could see something. Get the council, Jin whispered. Now. Within the hour, the Alliance leadership gathered around the dimensional tier. It had grown larger, now the size of a doorway. Through it, they could see strange shapes moving. "Is it them?" asked Tay. "Is it the humans?" Before anyone could answer, a message emerged from the tier. Not sound, but a direct transmission to all communication devices in the room. Signal received. Preparation underway. Hold position. "They heard us," Jin said, his voice filled with relief. "But will they come in time?" asked Bora. "The Void has accelerated its advance. 7 more systems lost yesterday. The Council returned to the chamber to implement the next phase of their strategy. Based on the human hologram's instructions, they began reorganizing all Alliance societies to embrace unpredictability. Art, music, debate, random actions, all of it creates uncertainty the Void cannot process," Commander Jury explained to planetary governors across hundreds of worlds. "Encourage creativity. Abandon rigid schedules. Think like humans." The concept was alien to many species who valued order above all else, but fear of the Void was stronger than tradition. On the front lines, Admiral Sun watched the dark mass of the Void push against the barriers created by the human devices. Some were beginning to fail. "We need more time," he said to no one in particular. Aboard his flagship, he had ordered the crew to engage in what the humans called brainstorming, a chaotic process where all ideas, no matter how absurd, were considered. The practice felt wrong to his orderly mind, but the results were undeniable. The Void's advance slowed wherever these techniques were implemented. 3 weeks after the beacon's activation, while Admiral Sun's fleet held position at the edge of protected space, the dimensional tear on the Alliance capital world suddenly expanded. Alarms sounded throughout the city as the tear grew from the size of a doorway to the size of a building in minutes. Jin and Dai were summoned back to the laboratory. When they arrived, the tear had stabilized, a massive window between dimensions, and through it came a voice, a human voice. "This is Admiral Min of the Human Dimensional Fleet. We are preparing for transition. Your dimension will experience gravitational fluctuations as our ships cross over. Stand by." The 2 men stared at each other in disbelief. They had hoped, but until this moment they had not truly believed. "We should inform the Council," Day said finally. But Jin couldn't move, his eyes fixed on the tier. "They're really coming back," he whispered. Through the dimensional window they caught glimpses of massive shapes moving, ships unlike anything they had ever seen. "Hold the line," came the human voice again. "We are coming!" The Void reached the core worlds just as the dimensional tiers appeared throughout the galaxy. One moment, there was nothing but stars against the black of space. The next, reality itself split open like a cosmic wound. Through these massive ruptures came the human fleet. Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge of the flagship Prometheus as it emerged near the Alliance capital. 5 decades had passed in this galaxy, but for humans it had been centuries in their dimensional refuge. Time flowed differently there, allowing them to evolve and prepare. The human vessels bore little resemblance to those of the Exodus. These ships shifted forms as they moved, their hulls rippling with possibilities. Some appeared solid one moment and transparent the next. Others seemed to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. "First wave successful," reported Captain Min, Hyun's second-in-command. "All ships report dimensional transition complete." Hyun nodded, her eyes on the tactical display. The Void had consumed nearly 30% of the galaxy. It surged toward the core worlds like a hungry tide. "Deploy the Chaos engines," she ordered. Across the human fleet, strange devices activated. They didn't fire beams or projectiles. Instead, they generated fields of pure possibility, zones where multiple realities existed at once. Where these fields touched the Void, it recoiled, unable to process the contradictions. On the Alliance capital world, the Council gathered to witness humanity's return. Ambassador Tay could hardly believe what the sensors showed. "Their technology," he whispered. "It's impossible." "No," said Captain Jin, who stood beside him. "It's human." The dimensional tiers remained open, and through them came more vessels. Some carried human settlers ready to re-establish colonies. Others transported machinery, unlike anything the Alliance had ever seen. "We bring chaos as a weapon," Admiral Hyun announced in her first transmission to the Council. "The Void cannot predict us, cannot consume what it cannot understand." For weeks, the human fleet pushed back the darkness. Their chaos engines created safe zones throughout the galaxy. Alliance worlds that had been preparing for evacuation now prepared for defense. The Void fought back. It learned, adapted, found ways to consume even chaotic systems. Each time it evolved, the humans evolved faster, their ships and weapons transforming to meet the new threat. "We need to strike at its center," Hyun told the Alliance leaders. "The Void has a heart, a place, where it began. If we can reach it, we can transform it." The final battle came 3 months after humanity's return. The combined fleets of humans and the Alliance surrounded the center of the Void, a region of space where not even light escaped. Admiral Hyun's flagship carried the ultimate human creation, the Chaos Prime. Not a weapon of destruction, but of transformation. "We don't seek to destroy the Void," Hyun explained to her allies. "It's too fundamental to the universe. We seek to change its nature." The Chaos Prime activated, sending waves of probability through the heart of the Void. Where these waves passed, the darkness changed. It didn't vanish. Instead, it shifted, taking on colors, textures, becoming something new. When it was over, where the Void had been, a new type of space existed. Not empty, not dark, but filled with swirling possibilities. A cosmic canvas of creativity. 3 months later, the Galactic Council reconvened. The chamber was filled with representatives from all species, including humans. Admiral Hyun and Ambassador Tae signed the new Galactic Charter, establishing an order based on creative chaos rather than rigid stability. "We never abandoned you," Admiral Hyun explained to the Assembly. "We left to become what was needed. The universe's darkest hour has passed." Captain Jin, now an official liaison between humans and the Alliance, watched the signing ceremony with pride. He remembered the abandoned station, the hologram, the small beacon that had called humanity home. "Why did you really leave?" he asked Hyun when they were alone. "You could have told us the truth from the beginning." Hyun smiled, her face showing centuries of wisdom despite her youthful appearance. "Would you have believed us? Would you have accepted that to defeat the Void, the galaxy needed to embrace chaos? Sometimes people must discover truths for themselves." Across the galaxy, human ships helped rebuild worlds the Void had damaged. They shared technologies that harnessed uncertainty as power. Mixed colonies formed where humans and alien species lived together, creating perfect blind spots where the transformed Void could never return to its destructive form. On the rebuilding world of New Terra, Jin walked with his family through a park where human and alien children played together. Above them, the sky showed swirls of colored light where the Void had once been, now a beautiful cosmic artwork rather than a consuming darkness. "The universe has learned its most important lesson," Jin told his children. "Diversity and unpredictability aren't weaknesses to overcome, but strengths to cultivate." In the distance, a dimensional tear opened briefly, just long enough for a new human ship to arrive. The Exodus had ended. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Once more,